Today's second video for you with new stories from the Horn of Africa. Firstly, Somalia's President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud has arrived in Nairobi, Kenya on a two-day official visit. Who received him in Nairobi, Kenya? We know that Hassan Sheikh traveled to Eritrea last week. And when he landed in Eritrea, Isaias Afwerki, Eritrean ruler himself, received Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud. It was a 5-day long visit. Who received Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud in Kenya? Second news story is about an OLA fighter, a commander, not a top commander, but a lower level commander who has been killed reportedly. Third news story is about a member of Addis Ababa City Council who was arrested 2 days ago after a scandal emerged about Addis Ababa condominium lottery. And today Addis Ababa City Council voted to revoke the immunity of this person, Muluken Habtu. Fourthly, we have a new story about Amhara diaspora community. We know that Amhara diaspora bodies, groups are campaigning against Ethiopian government, Ethiopian PM Abiy, Oromia regional government, Oromo Liberation Army. They want to highlight Amhara killings on international level, and a message is being shared in the US for ethnic Amharas, for Ethiopians living in the US. We have a clip for you. And lastly, Tigray regional government has issued a proclamation, an emergency proclamation with 132 articles. It is being said that this proclamation could be used to crush opposition, to crush dissidents in Tigray. We'll have a look at this proclamation. What is it about? Firstly, Somalia-Kenya relations, which remained frosty and strained when previous Somali president Abdullahi Farmajo was in power. And back then, Somalia accused Kenya of interfering in Jubaland, of interfering in internal affairs of Somalia. And Somalia accused Kenya of plundering Somalia's resources. Somalia withdrew its ambassador to Kenya. Then we saw a decision at the International Court of Justice about Kenya-Somalia maritime dispute. The decision could not be implemented, and at one time it seemed as if the two countries were on the verge of a war. Then elections were held, and now Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud is the new president of Somalia. And he is renewing ties with neighboring countries. Last week he was in Eritrea, and there he visited Eritrean projects. He visited Somalia soldiers under training in Eritrea. And today he arrived in Nairobi, Kenya. You can see pictures of Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud, Somalia's president, who arrived in Nairobi, Kenya a few hours ago. It was being said that Hassan Sheikh would travel to Kenya after Kenyan presidential election, which is due to be held at the start of next month. But Uhuru Kenyatta, Kenyan president, extended invitation to Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud to visit Kenya. So he is there at the invitation of Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta. But when Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud visited Eritrea and he arrived in Asmara, who welcomed him? Isaias Afwerki was himself there at the airport to welcome Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud. But here, when he arrived in Nairobi, Kenya, a Kenyan minister welcomed him. You can see a picture on screen. Kenyan Minister of Agriculture can be seen welcoming Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud. So Uhuru Kenyatta invited Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud, but he did not receive him. And meeting will be held between Hassan Sheikh and Uhuru Kenyatta at Kenyan State Guest House in Nairobi. Issues, bilateral issues, regional issues will come under discussion. Suspension of Kenyan cloth exports to Somalia will come under discussion. Al-Shabaab will definitely be discussed because Somalia's president has made it clear that no talks will be held with Al-Shabaab, and he needs support of US, Kenya, Ethiopia to form a multilateral strategy to contain, to wipe out Al-Shabaab. Trade relations will be discussed, and know that new Prime Minister of Somalia, chosen by Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud, is from Jubaland. His name is Hamza Abdi Bare. And some say he has a Kenyan passport too. So Kenya is going to have leverage, it's going to have influence in Somalia's internal politics in coming years, as long as Hassan Sheikh, Hamza Abdi Bare are in power in Somalia. And we know that Somalia's political elite has its residences, its businesses in Kenya. And other East African politicians, they also have their businesses, residences in Nairobi, Kenya. Kenya is hub for international media as well, international news outlets, their reporters, some of them are banned from working in Ethiopia, but they are based in Nairobi, Kenya. Let's see, we'll update you after the meeting between Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud and Uhuru Kenyatta, Kenyan president. Secondly, we have a new story for you from Oromia, where a commander of Oromo Liberation Army has been killed, not a top commander, but a lower level commander. His name is Kiraji Mutumma. Kiraji Mutumma. He was a student, and in 2018 he graduated from Velaga University. I think he's from Velaga. You can see his picture when he graduated from Velaga in 2018. Kiraji Mutumma. Later he joined Oromo Liberation Army. And according to some OLA-backed sources, he has been killed in recent fighting. Where was he killed? What we have learned is that he was killed in Vashava zone of Oromia region, where OLA has its massive presence despite several operations. OLA is still in control of key places in Vashava zone. Here, Jal Kiraji Mutimma has been killed. Now, what I want to point out is that OLA does not consist of uneducated fighters. People from all walks of life, youth, students, doctors, teachers, they are part of Oromo Liberation Army. And OLA is embedded in Oromo society. That is why it's difficult to single out OLA, to separate OLA, and to contain Oromo Liberation Army. You see that several operations have been launched against Oromo Liberation Army. OLA fighters were in forests, but now they are part of the community. It's difficult to distinguish between OLA fighters and locals. People from all walks of life are joining OLA. That is why OLA is increasing in its strength. It's gaining in terms of its capabilities. When people are with you, you have information available, you receive advanced information, people help you as well. OLA collects taxes too, and some voluntarily fund OLA too. OLA receives funding from abroad as well. So it's an entire network embedded in Oromo society. That is why it's difficult to completely eliminate Oromo Liberation Army. Thirdly, viewers, we have a new story from Addis Ababa, Ethiopian capital, where a scandal hit condominium draw a few days ago. The draw was, its results were cancelled by Addis Ababa mayor. Now action is being taken. More than 10 Addis Ababa government officials have been arrested, and one of them is top Addis Ababa government official. He was heading Innovation and Technology Bureau of Addis Ababa government. His name is Muluken Habtu. He is under investigation, but he was member of Addis Ababa City Council. He had immunity. He had constitutional protection that he could not be prosecuted. So Ministry of Justice wrote a letter to Addis Ababa City Council to remove Muluken Habtu's immunity. That is why today voting was held at Addis Ababa City Council. Members of City Council voted and Muluken Habtu's immunity has been revoked. Now criminal investigation can be started against Muluken Habtu. A positive step if Muluken Habtu is involved in this fraud, in tampering with condominium lottery. Definitely action should be taken against Muluken Habtu. Fourthly, a new story about Amhara diaspora community, especially in the US. We have seen rallies by this diaspora community members after Vellaga massacres. Several protest rallies have been taken out in the US, in Canada, in Britain, France as well. And Amhara diaspora bodies are trying to highlight the issue of alleged genocide of ethnic Amharas in Ethiopia on international level. That is why we saw that some NGOs backed by the diaspora communities spoke at UN Human Rights Council sessions, and they shared details of the killings of ethnic Amharas in Ethiopia. Amhara Association of America is a US-based Amhara diaspora organization, and it has launched a campaign. It wants US Congress to condemn alleged genocide of ethnic Amharas happening in Ethiopia. Messages, text messages, video messages are being shared by members of AAA, Amhara Association of America. People are being urged that they should approach their representatives so that pressure could be built upon them for condemnation of Amhara genocide at US Congress. Watch this clip.
Everyone, this message is for those that live in the United States. I just want to encourage you to join AAA's phone campaign and reach out to your House of Representatives and Senators. As you all know, the Amhara people of Ethiopia are facing a state-sanctioned genocide under the current administration of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. So the Amhara people are in imminent danger. So let's please be a voice for these people that are suffering in silence. If you live in a diaspora and if you feel helpless, this is something you could do, and it'll only take 5 minutes of your day. So let's please reach out to our representatives and demand for Congress to condemn the state-sanctioned Amhara genocide. AAA has laid out the phone script as well as a link for you to find your House of Representatives and Senators. So let's please be a voice for the Amhara people that are facing a state-sanctioned genocide.
Lastly, viewers, reportedly Tigray government has issued a proclamation which contains some articles which are being seen as controversial. Some say these articles could be violation of basic human rights. 117 over 2014 is the number of this proclamation. It has 132 articles. This proclamation states that whoever refuses to be part of Tigray Defense Force will be held accountable. Those who desert Tigray forces will also be proceeded against. Those who will not cooperate with Tigray forces, they'll be held accountable. And those who criticize government, to undermine the government, will be held accountable. And those who leak information will be proceeded against as well. Several other articles are mentioned as well. Tigray is facing extraordinary situation, that it's under siege, and future of peace talks is not clear. There could be assumption of armed hostilities. Before that, Tigray is making military preparations. You can say that there is martial law imposed in Tigray. You can say that. I mean, though TPLF is in power, elected president is there, Tigray president. He was elected in 2020. But this proclamation and the contents of this proclamation show as if there is a martial law in Tigray. If all Tigrayans are bound to join Tigray Defense Force and no one can refuse, it means there is martial law in Tigray. While Tigray government has announced severe punishments, imprisonments for different offenses mentioned in this proclamation, what about protection of basic rights of the people of Tigray? Who will ensure that basic rights of Tigrayans are protected? Is there any body, any independent human rights monitoring body in Tigray which will ensure that people's rights are not violated? And if someone does not want to join Tigray Defense Force and he wants to leave, he or she wants to leave Tigray, will they be allowed to leave Tigray? So that is why questions are being raised about this emergency proclamation, that some articles are a violation of basic rights of Tigrayans. And these articles can be used by Tigray government against dissidents, against opposition parties. They can be charged with attempts to destabilize the government. And we are seeing that opposition parties are not allowed to work freely in Tigray. 15 journalists have been arrested in Tigray in recent months, and some are still in prison. Tigray opposition parties have been saying that their political activities were stopped and their meetings were stormed by government forces in Mekelle, Tigray's capital. And now a new proclamation which will give immense powers to Tigray forces, Tigray government, and the political space, which is already narrow in Tigray, will be further narrowed. What is needed is that there should be monitoring of basic human rights as well in Tigray, that these rights are being respected or not. International, local bodies should be given free access. Opposition parties, opposition groups, they should have access to state media. Their position about human rights situation in Tigray, about Tigray's future, should also be aired by Tigray TV, by DW and other news sources. Thank you very much.